I was standing at the altar when my wedding stopped being mine. Not because the music cut out, not because the flowers toppled, not because someone objected in a dramatic movie scene way. It stopped being mine because the doors at the back of the church slammed open, hard enough that every head snapped around at once, and my fiancé's ex-girlfriend came sprinting down the aisle like she was chasing her last chance at oxygen. I remember the sound first. Shoes slamming against the runner, someone gasping, a chair scraping as a guest half stood without realizing it. Then I saw her, hair loose, breath ragged, eyes locked on him, not on me, like I was just part of the decor she planned to walk past. "Don't do this," she said, voice breaking. "Please, I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I love you. I've always loved you. Come back to me." The entire church went silent. Not polite silence, the kind where you can hear someone's phone vibrate inside their purse. My fiancé, 29, halfway down the aisle, froze. His father stopped walking behind him, confusion flashing across his face before hardening into something heavier, something close to disbelief. I waited for my fiancé to pull away, to laugh, to tell her to leave, to turn to me and do the one normal thing, choose me. Instead, his hands started shaking. "I can't let you marry her," his ex-girlfriend kept going. "I know I screwed up. I know I wasn't ready before, but I am now. Marriage, kids, the whole life. I'm ready. Please, choose me." She reached for his hand, and when she said, "You know what you want. It's me. It's always been me." My fiancé looked back at his father and whispered, "I'm sorry." Barely audible. Then he turned away from me and walked back down the aisle with her, leaving me standing at the altar, microphone still on, my mother's face crumpling as the joy drained out of it. I took one breath, stepped forward, and said calmly, "Open bar, party continues." Because if my fiancé could run out of my wedding for another woman, then I could decide exactly how the day ended. People always ask how long we were together, like there's a number that could explain what happened. 3 years. That's the answer. 3 full years of building something that felt steady, intentional, grown. Not rushed, not messy. The kind of relationship that doesn't burn hot but lasts. At least that's what I believed. We met the boring way. A mutual friend's birthday dinner. Too many people squeezed around a long table, everyone shouting over each other, plates getting passed hand to hand. He sat across from me, quiet, observant, listening more than talking. When I caught his eye, he smiled like he'd already decided something about me, but wasn't in a hurry to say what. Later that night, as people were splitting checks and saying goodbyes, he walked me to my car. "Can I see you again?" he asked, like it was a genuine question, not a line. That was him, never flashy, never aggressive, thoughtful in a way that made me feel chosen, not chased. Our early relationship was easy. Weekend mornings tangled in sheets, grocery shopping debates about cereal brands, long conversations that didn't need filler because silence between us wasn't awkward. It was comfortable. He told me about his past, including her. The ex-girlfriend who came before me. The one who had broken his heart when he wanted commitment and she didn't. "She just wasn't ready," he said once, shrugging. "Wrong timing." I believed him. Over time, I became the safe place, the one who showed up on time, the one who remembered birthdays, made plans, talked about the future without flinching. I didn't push marriage. I didn't hint. I didn't compare myself to anyone from his past. When he proposed, it felt earned. He did it quietly. No crowd, no flash mobs, just the two of us after dinner, his hands unsteady as he opened the box. "I want to build a life with you," he said. "I want to choose you every day." I said yes without hesitation. Wedding planning followed the way it always does. Too many decisions, too many opinions, not enough hours in the day. But underneath the stress was excitement, real excitement. We picked flowers together, argued about music, laughed over cake tastings. I imagined our future in details. Lazy Sundays, kids someday, growing old beside someone who felt like home. There were moments, small ones, that I brushed off. Times he went quiet when her name came up. The way he'd get distant if someone mentioned what might have been between them. How he insisted she was ancient history, but still seemed tense whenever mutual friends brought her up. "She doesn't matter," he told me more than once. "You're my future." I trusted him. I trusted the way he held my hand in public, the way he talked about our house, our plans, our timeline, the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. Soft, almost reverent. I thought love like that was stable, Finished. Settled. What I didn't understand then was that unresolved feelings don't disappear just because someone else steps in. They wait. They hide. They resurface when timing is cruel and emotions are high. By the time our wedding day arrived, I believed we were solid. I believed vows were a formality, not a question. I believed that when you choose someone, truly choose them, you don't hesitate at the altar. I was wrong. Looking back, the signs didn't arrive all at once. They slipped in quietly, disguised as stress, nostalgia, coincidence. Things you don't question when you trust someone. A few months after we got engaged, his phone started changing habits. Nothing dramatic, no sudden secrecy, just small shifts. He used to leave it face up on the counter while he showered. Then it started going face down. He used to hand it to me without thinking. Can you check the weather? Can you text my mom back? And then one day he hesitated. Just a second. Barely noticeable, but I noticed. Work stuff, he said when I raised an eyebrow. Group chats are blowing up. I didn't push. Then her name resurfaced. Not directly, never directly. It came through other people, mutual friends who didn't realize they were stepping on something sensitive. Did you hear she moved back into town? Someone said over drinks one night. I felt his body go still beside me. Oh, I said carefully. No, I didn't know that. He smiled too quickly. Yeah, I heard. Later that night, when I asked him about it, he brushed it off. She reached out a while ago, he admitted, just to say hi. Closure stuff. Closure. A word people use when they want something to sound finished, even when it isn't. I asked the obvious question. Are you still talking to her? No, he said immediately. Too immediately. Not really. Not really. I let it go. I told myself I was being insecure, that engaged couples don't interrogate each other over harmless messages, that trust means choosing not to dig. But the tension didn't fade. It settled into our routines. He'd get distracted during conversations, eyes flicking to his phone even when it didn't buzz. He laughed less easily. Some nights he lay awake beside me, staring at the ceiling, like his thoughts were somewhere I couldn't reach. Are you okay? I asked once, tracing slow circles on his arm. Yeah, he said, just a lot on my mind. Then came the family pressure. His mother started checking in more often. Too often. Marriage is a big step, she said during one phone call. You want to be sure you're ready. I am, I replied without hesitation. I meant him, she said gently. That should have been my warning. There were other moments. His sister asking vague questions about timelines. His dad pulling him aside during a family dinner, voices low, serious. When I asked what they talked about, he said, just normal stuff. Normal. Meanwhile, my life revolved around us. Deposits paid, dress fitted, guest list finalized. I was building toward a future that felt locked in place. I didn't know that while I was moving forward, part of him was standing still, looking backward. The last warning came the week before the wedding. I found him in the living room late at night, phone glowing in his hand, face tight with emotion he didn't notice me seeing. He looked up, startled. Who were you talking to? I asked. He swallowed. No one. That lie sat between us like a crack in glass, thin, almost invisible, but irreversible once you know it's there. I didn't confront him. I didn't demand answers. I told myself the ceremony would ground him, that vows would settle whatever doubts were stirring under the surface. I believed love was enough to quiet old ghosts. I didn't realize those ghosts were already walking back toward us, fast, determined, and ready to tear through everything we'd built. The morning of the wedding arrived wrapped in a kind of false calm. Sunlight filtered through the hotel curtains, soft and forgiving, as if the day itself didn't know what it was about to witness. The room buzzed with quiet activity, hairspray hanging in the air, the low hum of a steamer, my bridesmaids moving around me with practiced excitement. Laughter, music, anticipation. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt steady. Not nervous, not unsure, just ready. My phone stayed silent. No message from him. No, I can't wait to see you. I noticed it, but I brushed the thought aside. He was probably busy. Family, groomsmen, pre-wedding chaos. I didn't let the silence mean more than it should. At the church, everything unfolded exactly as planned. The flowers lined the aisle just right. Guests filled the pews, murmuring softly. My mother squeezed my hands, eyes shining. You look beautiful, she whispered. He's going to lose it when he sees you. I smiled. I believed her. When the doors opened and I stepped inside, the music swelled. I started down the aisle, heart steady, eyes fixed on the altar. There he was, standing straight, hands clasped in front of him, expression serious in a way I mistook for emotion. Halfway down the aisle, I noticed something shift. His shoulders tensed, not with awe, with alarm. The doors at the back of the church slammed open. Gasps rippled through the room. I stopped walking. So did everyone else. She came running down the aisle, hair loose, dress wrinkled, breathing hard as if she'd sprinted the entire way. Her heels struck the floor unevenly, echoing too loudly in the sudden silence. She didn't look at me. Not once. "Don't do this," she said, voice breaking. "Please, I made a mistake, a huge mistake." Her words filled the space where vows were supposed to live. "I love you," she continued. "I've always loved you. I panicked before, but I'm ready now. Everything you wanted, marriage, kids, the whole life, I'm ready. Just don't marry her. Choose me." The church went completely silent. Not polite silence, the kind where time seems to stop moving. I stood there, hands clenched around nothing, waiting for someone, anyone, to intervene. For the officiant to speak, for my fiancé to tell her to leave. Instead, his breath caught. I saw his hands start to shake. The color drained from his face as he stared at her, eyes filling with something that wasn't confusion. It was recognition. She stepped closer. "You know what you want," she said softly. "It's me. It's always been me." My fiancé finally spoke. I need a second," he said, voice barely holding together. He looked at me then, just briefly, long enough for hope to spark and die in the same moment. Then he turned his head and looked back at her. Over his shoulder, his father stood frozen a few steps behind him, face unreadable with shock. "I'm sorry," my fiancé whispered. That was all. She reached for his hand, and he let her take it. "No thinking," she said. "We're leaving, right now." And they did. They turned and walked back down the aisle together, past stunned guests, past my family, past everything we were supposed to become, and disappeared through the doors she'd burst through moments earlier. The church erupted. Someone cried out. His mother shouted his name. Conversations exploded all at once. His father didn't move. He just stood there, staring at the empty space where his son had been standing seconds ago. I was still at the altar, still in my dress, still holding a microphone that was very much on. My maid of honor stepped toward me, eyes wide. "What do we—" I lifted a hand, took one slow breath. Then I stepped forward, tapped the microphone, and said calmly, "Well, that happened." Nervous laughter rippled through the room. I looked out at the guests, 200 people who had shown up for a wedding that no longer existed, and continued. "The venue's paid for, the food's paid for, the band and the bar are definitely paid for. None of it is refundable." I paused. "So we're not canceling anything? Open bar? Party continues?" For the first time that day, something solid settled in my chest. Not love. Control. After they disappeared through the doors, after the church erupted behind me, voices overlapping, someone sobbing openly, someone else shouting his name, I stayed exactly where I was. My feet didn't move. My spine stayed straight. It felt like my body had gone rigid on purpose, like if I let myself bend even an inch, something irreversible would break. My mother reached for me. I felt her fingers brush my arm, light, hesitant. "Sweetheart," her voice cracked. I stepped away. Not sharply, not angrily, just enough to create space. Because if I let her hold me then, if I let anyone hold me, I knew I would lose control. And I refused to give that moment to a man who had already taken enough. The officiant looked helpless. Guests stood half-turned in their seats, unsure whether to look at me or at the doors my fiancé had just walked through. His mother was unraveling now, calling his name as if volume alone could pull him back. His father hadn't moved at all. He stood frozen, eyes fixed on the aisle, like he was replaying the last 30 seconds over and over, searching for a version where his son made a different choice. I stepped away from the altar before anyone could stop me. At the reception, something unexpected happened. People followed my lead. Drinks were poured. Music started. Conversations loosened. Someone made a toast that skirted the edge of inappropriate, but landed exactly where it needed to. My cousins did shots at the bar. My uncle announced loudly that I'd dodged a missile, not a bullet, and the room roared with laughter. I kicked off my heels and danced barefoot. I danced with my mother to the song that was supposed to be my first dance. "You don't have to be strong," she whispered. "I know," I said, "but I am." Around midnight, while the band was still playing and the floor was packed, my phone buzzed in my bag. A message from him. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I locked my phone and put it back without responding. He had made his choice in front of everyone. I would make mine quietly, with dignity, with finality. And for the first time since the doors had slammed open that morning, I felt something settle deep in my chest. Not grief, not rage, but certainty. This part of my life was over, and I was still standing. The quiet didn't last. It never does. The morning after the wedding, that wasn't. I woke up with a pounding headache and a strange sense of dislocation, like I'd slept through an earthquake and only felt the aftershocks. My dress was draped over a chair in the corner of the hotel room. My shoes were abandoned by the door. Glitter from the reception clung to my skin like evidence. For a moment, I almost forgot. Then my phone vibrated. Once, twice, again. When I finally reached for the phone, the screen lit up with notifications. Messages, missed calls, voicemails. From his mother, from his sister, from friends I hadn't heard from in years. People suddenly brave enough to weigh in on a moment that had nothing to do with them. And from him, please talk to me. I panicked. I didn't know what I was doing. I love you. I didn't open any of them. In the lobby, my maid of honor was waiting with coffee and a look that said she'd barely slept. You don't have to read anything, she said carefully. I can screen calls. I'm fine, I told her. It wasn't a lie. Not exactly. I just wasn't broken in the way everyone expected. Back at the apartment, reality settled in heavier. Half-packed boxes lined the walls. Seating charts still taped to the fridge. A countdown calendar marked with hearts and inside jokes that now felt like artifacts from someone else's life. By noon, the calls started coming in waves. I ignored them all until his name lit up the screen. 3 times. Back to back. I answered on the 4th. What? I said. Relief flooded his voice. Oh, thank God. His words came uneven, rushed, like he couldn't get enough air. I just needed to hear you, he said. Please, I need to explain. Explain what? I asked. The part where you left me at the altar, or the part where you left with her? It wasn't like that, he said quickly. I was overwhelmed. She showed up and said everything I'd waited years to hear. I panicked. You didn't panic, I said. You chose. Silence. I'm at a hotel, he said finally. She got us a room so we could talk. The words landed exactly the way they deserved to. You're at a hotel, I repeated, with the woman you ran away with. We didn't do anything, he insisted. We just talked all night, and I realized, I don't want her. I want you. I laughed once, short, sharp. That's a nice realization, I said. Shame about the timing. Don't do this, he pleaded. Don't be cold. I'm not being cold, I said. I'm being accurate. My phone's about to die, he rushed on. I left my wallet in the chaos yesterday. I don't have my car. I paused. Where's your car? He hesitated. Too long. She drove us, he admitted. She said we needed to talk somewhere private. So where's your car now? I think it's still at the venue, he said. Or she moved it. I don't know. I closed my eyes. And you're calling me, I said slowly, to come rescue you. Please, he whispered. I just need to get home. Home? I repeated. The word tasted wrong. You mean the apartment you were supposed to move out of? I continued. The one we were leaving because we were moving into the house? Silence again. The house, I said. The one I bought. The one in my name. The one I've been renovating for months as a surprise. I forgot about that, he said weakly. You forgot a lot of things, I replied. Your vows, your commitment, your spine. You're being cruel. No, I said, I'm being honest. So where am I supposed to go, he asked, desperation creeping in. Your parents' place, I said. Your sister's couch. The hotel room your ex paid for. Anywhere that isn't my problem. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're surprised. I made one mistake, he snapped. It was a big one, but... I hung up. Blocked his number. The fallout didn't slow down after that. If anything, it intensified. Messages came through mutual friends. His sister left voicemails asking me to be reasonable. His mother showed up unannounced at my office 2 days later, sitting in the lobby like she belonged there. Security called upstairs. There's a woman asking for you, they said carefully. She says she's your fiancé's mother. Tell her I'm in a meeting, I replied. She says she'll wait. Of course she would. When I finally went down, she stood the moment she saw me. You need to forgive him, she said without preamble. He's destroyed. He made a mistake. He made a choice, I corrected. He's not eating. He's barely sleeping. He wasn't thinking about that when he walked away from me. You loved him, she pressed. I did, I said, past tense. Her mouth tightened. You're punishing him. I'm not saving him, I said calmly. There's a difference. She left angry. I went back to my desk. And for the first time since the wedding, I felt it clearly. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about boundaries. And everyone was about to find out where mine were. The hardest part came after the noise stopped. After the calls slowed. After the messages blurred together. After everyone else went back to their lives and I was left alone with the aftermath. I moved back into the apartment for one last week to pack my things, not because I wanted to, because it felt like walking through a burned down house, but because I needed to close the door properly. Every room held echoes. The couch where we used to sit shoulder to shoulder, half watching shows we never finished. The kitchen counter where he'd lean while I cooked, stealing bites and pretending not to. The bedroom where I lay awake the first night, staring at the ceiling, listening to a silence that felt louder than any argument we'd ever had. This was the moment I finally cried. Not dramatically, not all at once. It came in waves that stole my breath when I wasn't ready. In the shower, folding clothes, finding the spare key taped inside a drawer with a note in his handwriting, just in case. I sat on the floor and let it happen, not because I wanted him back, but because something real had died. The version of my life I'd planned, the woman I thought I was becoming, the belief that commitment automatically meant safety. That night, I checked my phone again, against my better judgment. Voicemails, new numbers, old ones. One from his sister, softer this time. "He's really not okay," she said. "I know he messed up, but he's spiraling." Another from a mutual friend. "Just hear him out. You don't have to forgive him. Just talk." Then a number I didn't recognize. I answered without thinking. It was him. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. No hello, no build-up, just apology stacked on apology. I hate myself for what I did. I can't eat, I can't sleep. I keep replaying it. I closed my eyes. "This isn't my responsibility anymore," I said quietly. "But it feels like you're punishing me," he replied, "like you want me to suffer." "No," I said. "I just stopped protecting you from the consequences." Silence stretched between us. "What if I could prove it?" he asked suddenly. "What if I could show you I love you, that it was just a moment of insanity?" "A moment," I repeated, "that lasted long enough for you to leave me at the altar." I was confused. "You were decisive," I corrected. "Confusion hesitates. You didn't." His breathing hitched. "I hate you," he whispered. I felt the sting, but it didn't land the way he wanted it to. "No," I said. "You hate yourself. I'm just not fixing it for you." I ended the call, blocked the number. That should have been the end. It wasn't. 2 days later, my maid of honor called, voice tight. "He's been telling people you're being cruel, that you're cold, that you're enjoying this." I laughed, once, hollow, enjoying it, as if choosing not to be dragged back into a broken promise was some kind of sport. That night was the lowest point, not because I wanted him back, but because the weight of everyone else's expectations finally pressed down all at once. Be kind, be forgiving, be the bigger person. As if dignity meant erasing myself, I sat on the edge of my bed in the new house, the one I'd been renovating quietly, the one he'd never seen finished. And for the first time since the wedding, doubt crept in. What if I am being too hard? What if love means staying even when someone fails spectacularly? What if walking away makes me the villain? I imagined taking him back. The apologies, the promises, the way everyone would sigh in relief and say, "See, true love." And then I imagined standing in front of a mirror, 5 years from now, older, quieter, carrying resentment I never allowed myself to name. That image broke something open. I stood up, walked through the empty rooms, touched the walls I'd painted myself, the kitchen counters I'd chosen, the space I'd built with intention, not compromise. This house existed because I trusted my instincts, because I planned for my future without waiting for permission. And I realized something in that silence. If I went back now, I wouldn't be choosing love. I'd be choosing fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of disappointing people. Fear of being seen as the woman who couldn't forgive. I sat down on the floor, back against the wall, and let the last of the doubt drain out of me. This was the dark moment. Not because I was broken, but because I was finally standing at the edge of a choice no one else could make for me. And I knew, deep in my bones, that whatever came next, I wasn't going backward. The turning point didn't arrive with fireworks. It came quietly, almost politely, the way real power usually does. 3 days after my lowest night, I stopped reacting. I didn't wake up angry. I didn't wake up sad. I woke up clear. I made coffee in the kitchen of the house, my house, standing barefoot on cold tile, morning light stretching across the counters I'd chosen myself. No voices, no messages, no one telling me what the right thing was. Just silence. And in that silence, I finally heard myself. I opened my phone and scrolled. Not through messages, but through photos. Renovation progress shots, paint samples. The half-finished guest room I'd planned to turn into a nursery someday. The version of my future that existed before everything fell apart. None of it included begging someone to stay. That was the moment I decided to take back control, not emotionally, but practically. I didn't send a dramatic text. I didn't post anything online. I didn't announce my decision to anyone. I just acted. I called my attorney. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted finality. We talked through everything calmly. The apartment lease, the deposits, the gifts, the accounts that were still tangled simply because they'd been shared out of convenience, not necessity. He has no claim to the house, she confirmed. It's solely in your name. I know, I said. I just want it documented. I spent the afternoon closing loops. I transferred utilities fully into my name, changed passwords, updated emergency contacts, canceled vendors that still had my number listed under his. Every click felt like reclaiming oxygen. That evening, his father called. I hesitated before answering, but I did. I'm not calling to defend him, he said immediately. What he did was inexcusable. I'm ashamed. I believed him. People are asking about the wedding gifts, he continued, and the deposits. We need to sort out the practical things. That's fine, I said. Gifts from his side go back to his family. Mine go back to mine. Deposits paid in my name stay with me. Anything else is his responsibility. There was a pause. That's fair, he said quietly. And the house? He asked after a moment. He's struggling. He needs somewhere to stay. No, I replied, not angry, not defensive, just firm. The house is mine. He's never lived here. That doesn't change. He exhaled slowly. You're right. I just thought I should ask. I understand, I said, but the answer is no. When we hung up, I didn't feel guilty. I felt aligned. The final confirmation came later that week. I wasn't home when it happened. I was out with friends, real ones, the kind who didn't need explanations, when my phone rang. It was my neighbor. There's a man sitting on your porch, she said carefully. He says he's your fiancé. He's not, I replied. There was a pause. Do you want me to call the police? If he doesn't leave in 10 minutes, I said, yes. I didn't rush home. I didn't engage. I didn't negotiate. By the time I arrived, the porch was empty. A folded note was taped to my door. 5 pages, front and back. Apologies. Regret. Promises. Grand declarations about change and destiny and how he'd spend the rest of his life making it up to me. I read every word. Then I threw it away. Not angrily, not dramatically. Just done. That night, I locked the door, leaned back against it, and felt something shift fully into place. I hadn't lost anything I needed. I had gained certainty. The truth was finally clear, not because he explained himself, not because he suffered enough, not because anyone validated me, but because I stopped asking permission to choose myself. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't cruelty. This was the moment I reclaimed my life. And from here on out, everything moved forward. The fallout didn't explode all at once. It trickled. Slow, persistent, exhausting. Once it became clear I wasn't changing my mind. Once people realized there would be no reconciliation arc, no dramatic reunion, no forgiveness montage, the pressure shifted. It stopped being emotional and started being logistical, practical, petty, which somehow was worse. Mutual friends began choosing sides without saying they were choosing sides. Invitations stopped coming. Group chats went quiet. A few people reached out just to check in, then slid carefully into questions that weren't really questions. How is he doing? Is there any chance you two might talk again? Don't you think this has gone far enough? I answered less and less, not out of spite, out of self-preservation. Then the rumors started. Nothing outrageous, just enough to sting. That I was cold, that I'd always been controlling, that he'd been overwhelmed and I'd left him no room to breathe, that I was punishing him instead of letting him fix things. I heard these things secondhand, filtered through awkward pauses and apologetic tones. I didn't correct anyone. People who wanted to believe those versions weren't actually asking for the truth. They were asking for comfort. His sister tried one last time. She called late, voice low, like she was sneaking past her own conscience. He's asking about the house again, she said, just temporarily, until he gets back on his feet. No, I replied. You have 3 bedrooms, she pressed. You bought it for both of you. I bought it for my future husband, I said calmly. He made it clear he didn't want that job. That's harsh. It's accurate. She exhaled sharply. He's really struggling. I know, I said, and I hope he figures it out. She waited for more. There wasn't any. She hung up without saying goodbye. A week later, I lost friends. Not loudly, quietly. A dinner I wasn't invited to. A birthday party I found out about on social media. A group trip that suddenly didn't include me. It hurt. I let it. But I didn't chase anyone. People who thought abandoning me at the altar was something to understand weren't people I needed in my life. The final wave came when his ex, the woman he left with, posted online. An engagement announcement. Not with him, with someone else. I found out because my phone lit up all at once. Screenshots. Shocked messages. The same friends who'd urged compassion now texting things like, wow, and guess karma's real. I didn't respond. I didn't feel satisfaction. Just confirmation. He called from yet another new number. I recognized the pattern immediately. I answered, not because I owed him, but because I wanted closure on my terms. She's engaged, he said, voice hollow. I know. I feel like an idiot. You were, I said gently, but you don't have to stay one. There was a pause. I ruined everything, he whispered. Yes, I agreed, but I didn't. That was the difference. I just wanted you to know, he said. I finally understand what I lost. I hope you do, I replied. That understanding is important. And you? He asked. How are you? I looked around my living room. The furniture I'd chosen. The quiet. The space that finally felt like mine. I'm okay, I said. Actually, I'm good. He didn't speak again. I ended the call and blocked the number for the last time. After that, things went quiet. No more surprise appearances. No more voicemails. No more 5-page letters taped to doors. I finished the house. Moved in fully. Adopted a rescue dog. An awkward, loyal lab mix who followed me from room to room like I was the center of the universe. I laughed more than I expected. I slept through the night. And slowly, without forcing it, the story stopped being about what he did to me and started being about what I chose afterward. The fallout had burned away everything flimsy. What was left was solid, and finally peaceful. The story didn't end with a dramatic victory. It ended with a quiet, ordinary morning. Sunlight through the kitchen window, coffee brewing, my dog curled up at my feet, tail thumping softly every time I moved. No messages waiting, no apologies coming, no decisions left to make. Just life. For a long time, people framed what happened to me as a tragedy. That poor woman, they'd say, left at the altar, publicly humiliated, as if that moment defined everything that came after it. But that's not how I see it anymore. The real loss would have been marrying someone who hesitated when it mattered. Someone who heard the right words from the wrong person and abandoned me in front of everyone we knew. Someone who confused nostalgia with love and thought regret was the same thing as commitment. I didn't lose a fiancé. I lost an illusion. And what I gained was far more valuable. I learned that strength doesn't always look like rage or revenge. Sometimes it looks like restraint, like silence, like choosing not to engage when every instinct tells you to explain yourself. I learned that forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. You can let go without letting someone back in. You can wish someone well without sacrificing your boundaries to prove you're kind. Most importantly, I learned that love should never require you to disappear. Not your dignity, not your voice, not your future. Walking away didn't make me cold. It made me honest. The right person won't need a dramatic interruption to realize they want you. They won't freeze when their past comes running. They won't leave you standing alone in a room full of witnesses while they chase something unresolved. They'll choose you, clearly, consistently, without hesitation. And until that person shows up, choosing yourself is not a consolation prize. It's the point. My wedding didn't happen, but my life did. And if I had to live it again, knowing everything I know now, I wouldn't change a thing. Because sometimes the best ending isn't the one you planned. It's the one that sets you free.